So welcome to week 10 of Leadership in the School Context, and this week we introduced the concept of professional capital. Very important in the school setting because it starts to tie together a lot of the concepts we've touched over the unit so far. So Michael Fullan and Andy Hargraves came up with the notion of professional capital in a book published not very long ago, and they say that professional capital is really a function of human capital. That's the expertise and skill set and capabilities of the people that are working in your school. Social capital, which is the connections between those people and the community and other organisations, other people that might be able to help, like principals associations or universities or subject-specific associations. And decisional capital, which really is accumulated over time, and it's about how a school and the people within the school go about making the choices and decisions about where they're heading. So we've got a few clips and a few readings from Hargraves and Fullan this week. We start though by exploring what the concept of professional capital is, and I find this fascinating. It's been around for quite a while, and it really came to prominence in the late 90s, early 2000s, and one of the seminal books was a book written by Robert Putnam that was called Bowling Alone. It talked about how in communities across the US the connectedness between people in those communities had changed, and where there was once, in the case of the analogy drawn, bowling alley, there were leagues that people took place and bowled together. They were connected, they knew each other. And in the same way, I suppose, he talks about the churches and how the importance of the church has changed over time, and that social capital and connection between parishioners is not like it once was. So Bowling Alone talked about the demise of social capital and the social fabric, and argued a case that that was something that we needed to rebuild. There's a lot of literature now about the importance of social capital. You know, the old sayings of it's not what you know, it's who you know. Your connections, to be able to call on favours from people or from organisations, really comes back, I think, to when we started at the very, very beginning of this unit talking about the importance of trust and relationships in schools. So that's what Vivienne Robertson picked up on in her meta-analysis, and the importance of those relationships that will ultimately benefit an organisation or a school and bring better outcomes for students in that school. So we'll look at social capital, we'll move on and have a look at professional capital, and I'm going to give a hint about next week too. I think this is where it gets really interesting, in that when you start to look at leader well-being in schools, it's the levels of social capital, that are highly beneficial for the well-being of those leaders. So in schools where there are high levels of social capital between teachers, between the school and the parent body, school leaders are in a much better position. So we'll explore that next week. So get a good grounding in the understanding of what these different types of capitals are, and we'll build on it next week.